Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the July 18th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the town of Ossining. My name is Sal Carrera, Chairman, and joining me this evening are members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Town Attorney, Building Inspector, Secretary for the town. We have one hearing this evening. I will read the public notice and then request the applicant or their representative to give a brief explanation of the relief sought. For the record, I'd like to have everyone introduce themselves.
David O'Neill, member.
David Krieger, member.
Lynn Farrell, member.
Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you.
Welcome, Lynn. Tom Wills, member.
John Hamilton, building inspector.
Christy Adana, attorney.
Margaret Kahn, secretary.
Thank you. Anyone that has a comment basically can raise their hand online and state their name and address. After the comments are received, the board will try to render a decision this evening. I'm going to read the public notice. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing of the Town of Ossining Zoning Board of Appeals will be held Monday, July 18, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. on the application of Joe Ann Clark and Jean Zephyrin, 10 Robin Drive, Ossining, New York. The meeting will be held via Zoom conferencing in accordance with the state authority. However, such authority terminate, the meeting will be held in person at the Operations Center. The property is located at 10 Robin Drive in the unincorporated area of the town of Ossining, identified on the tax map of the town of Ossining as section 90.14, block 2, lot 60 in the R21 family resident district. The applicant is seeking a special permit for an accessory apartment, chapter 200-31.2, accessory apartments on single family lots. Application materials and plans prepared by Damasa Architects PC, 105 Smith Avenue, Mount Kisco, New York, dated June 1st, 2022, are available for public inspection at the Town of Ossining Building Department or online at thetownofOssining.com. There's CMS, there's Zoning Board of Appeals, Archive Zoning Board. All interested persons are invited to attend the public hearing to be heard on this matter. The public can send written comments by email to the Building Department of townofOssining.com or regular mail to the Town of Ossining Zoning Board of Appeals, Post Office Box 1166, Ossining, New York, 10562. Please feel free to contact our office by phone if you need any additional information regarding the zoning board meeting at 914-762-8419 by order of the Zoning Board of Appeals, Sal Carrera, Chairman, dated July 8, 2022. Okay, who will be giving a presentation this evening? Joanne or Jean? You have?
Sure.
You have the architect giving the presentation or yourself and Jean?
Well, we'll give it jointly. It's I think a straightforward request. We have a studio apartment over the garage on our property, which we moved into this past year, and it's under 700 square feet. It falls within the percentage limit for the main building, proportional to the size of the main building, which I think is 33% of the square footage of the main building. So the architect who came said that the space needed, before it could be approved, it needed a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke detector. So we purchased a 2-in-1 unit, and one of the windows needs to be replaced so that it can serve as a second exit, so that there are two legal egresses for, safety and fire regulations. And so we have those repairs and upgrades underway and are awaiting inspection of the property, as part of this approval process to bring the space into compliance with the town regulations.
Okay, noting that the architect drew up plans, and depending on what the board's decision is this evening, John Hamilton, the building inspector, would be the one to sign off on the plans and also the accommodations, whether or not they meet all the rules and regulations of accessory apartment in the town of Ossining.
That's right.
Can you tell me what your plans are with regards to renting out the site?
Well, initially we just want to bring it into compliance for whatever purposes might be available, but our initial impulse was to try to be certified as sponsors to host a Ukrainian refugee family as part of the U.S. government's program to bring 100,000 families to the U.S. as part of the federal government's support of that country. That's a program that's limited in scope and time. And so we can imagine also potentially renting the apartment, or our adult son lives with us. So, he might want to, colonize that part of the house. And we might be fine with that. So,
All right.
so we just want it to be legal. We purchased the property understanding that under the current strictures, we could really only use it for, just daytime use, that even anyone staying there overnight wasn't permissible. So it's basically, it's just sat empty since we've been here.
Right, the accessory apartment, the way the plans are drawn up, which meet the criteria currently of the town of Austin accessory apartment rules and regulations. And as I said previously, Mr. Hamilton would make the final decision on the scope of the repairs and the upgrades that are necessary. One thing I did want to mention to you, which I think is admirable with regards to sponsoring a family, the zoning code calls for no more than 2 people in an accessory apartment. So when you say family, if it happened to be a husband, wife, and a child or children, you only allow 2 people in that space up to 800 feet. So that's something you got to take into consideration, because we would look into that, if this board gives the approval this evening to that. No problem with your son, taking over. I could fully understand that. But when we say family, family in the context of the zoning board would be 2 people, but no children, especially in something that's 700 feet. So that's
Right.
something to take into consideration at the time.
Right.
Any questions from any of the board members?
No, I agree with what you're saying, Sal. Detached accessory building limited to maximum of 2 occupants.
No, and we understand that the family that's been identified perhaps as appropriate is a mother and 2 children. So we would have to figure out it's a boy and a girl, so it might make sense anyway to have the older boy, in a room in the main house or something. It's a lengthy process, so we're trying to just do first things first.
Okay, let's get the approval first, and then Mr. Hamilton, will take over from there. David, Tom, any questions?
No, I think it's fairly straightforward. I'm quite familiar with the area. I live fairly close by and kind of walk through the church grounds quite often, so I'm familiar with the kind of layout of the site, and I think it's kind of an appropriate request for the use of that garage building.
Fully agree. Tom?
Well, I agree with the sentiment. And the other thing, usually I drive around these sites a day or two before. I happened to do it late today, and just spontaneously, two of your neighbors saw me and I said, oh, they're looking at me a little. So I introduced myself, and they both were very enthusiastic about this proposal. And I was surprised, and they had no qualms at all. They were very happy to hear. I was pleasantly surprised.
That's good. Lynn?
No, it seems fairly straightforward to me. It just seems that it's a little bit close to the property line, but that's a church back there, isn't it? Your adjoining
Yeah.
neighbor?
Yeah, it's St. Paul's on the Hill. And there, it's pretty quiet over there, but for Sunday mornings, honestly.
I can imagine.
Any comments for audience members that may be hooked in here?
I'd like to say I also approve, if subject to the building inspector.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments from my board or residents in the area?
So, Mr. Chairman, we do have a couple of attendees this evening, including one who is participating by phone. So for the participant by phone, if you would like to raise your virtual hand, you would press *9. And for the attendees, there should be a button at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand if you would like to make any comments on this application.
Margaret, you have someone there?
Yes, I asked him to unmute. Okay, caller, please ask your question.
Hi, how you doing? Hi, yes, I have a question. Yeah, I've been listening to everything.
May I have your name and address, please?
Sure, it's Michael Hines, 87 Ganung. And I just have a couple of questions, though. You know, it's a very honorable sentiment about hosting people. But as far as, you know, you mentioned a 2-person limit, and you already mentioned that there's going to be potentially 3 people. And who's to say it would be more? Who would potentially be reviewing this? And if you came up and reviewed, and we told a couple of people are living actually in the house, and a couple of people are not, you know, that gets in the gray area. Also, what if you give
I'd like to,
approval
if you're going to have a couple of questions, I'd like to do one at a time. Enforcement of anything would be under John Hamilton. Any calls or comments? The zoning board is not a police department. Mr. Hamilton is in control of that. So if this board did grant this variance, like we have with a number of other accessory apartments, it would be on basically a complaint basis or an inspection that Mr. Hamilton does during the course of the year. So that's the way that would be handled.
Yes, there are,
Okay,
as part of this use, there are inspections that are done annually.
And the initial approval is
Okay.
only granted for 3 years, correct?
Yes. Next question.
And yeah, another question would be, you know, with the potential of renting it out, what then stops anybody else around here from doing the same thing? And you're not a police department, so you can't police that.
Well, accessory apartments are allowed. There are rules and regulations with how many within a specific area are allowed also. That's taken into consideration when an application is sent in to the building department, that then is sent out to the zoning board. We have a general idea of any and all accessory apartments within the radius of the applicant.
But the reality is, you know, you can't always stop someone if they wanted to try to put in an accessory apartment illegally, but that's not what this applicant is doing. They're doing it the right way as the code requires.
Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. My problem is I'm originally from Brooklyn, so like, unfortunately, I see a lot of people who, you know, you give them an inch, and they take a mile. And I'm not saying these people who are buying the house, but I'm saying is it opens it up to that.
Well, the code does
Like I
already
said, it
allow it,
becomes-
as the chairman mentioned.
Yeah, the code is there. As you heard from the applicant, they bought this house with that apartment already there. That was illegally done. And they are now coming forward to legalize it. And I'm sure there's many others within the town that we're not made aware of. But we just take it as what's in front of us at the time. But, nothing is 100% pure and innocent when it comes to anything, especially with zoning. So we just take one application at a time. And if there's anything that's out there that someone knows about, they will call it into the building department, and Mr. Hamilton would go and investigate like he has in the past.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, it's just even the fact that got put in there and you guys weren't basically aware of it. And I understand you can't see everything. Unfortunately, like I said, I'm from Brooklyn. You see a lot of people pull a lot of shady stuff. And I'm not saying these people are, but I also, part of that is I came up here. I like the space, and I like, and I just would like to not see potentially something open up where then becomes, well, hey, they did it. The people around the corner did it. The people behind us did it. Why can't I do it? Type of thing.
Well, it is allowed by our zoning code. And there are, various rules and regulations with accessory apartments. So it is open, to the town residents, and there's a criteria that has to be followed. And we follow that to the letter of the law. And if it doesn't meet the standards of an accessory apartment, the board would not approve it. So I understand your concern, but it is allowed in the town of Ossining.
Okay, but and you said that I guess there's like a limitation though there's only so much of that could be done in an area.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Would you happen to know what that is off the top, just out of curiosity?
You could call the building department and ask for a copy of what those rules and regulations are. You can call either Margaret or Sandy or John and get a copy of it, or they'll explain to you how you get a copy online.
Yeah,
Okay,
there can't
thank
be
you.
one within 500 feet of another.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your call.
And just so you know, I'm from the Bronx, and when we catch someone, you get $5,000 fine.
Okay, I appreciate that. So you know where I'm coming from then.
Margaret, anybody else we have?
No, Sal, no other hands up.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Aye.
public hearing is closed. I'd like to take a vote from the board. All in favor of approving the accessory apartment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Any dissenting? Let the record shows unanimous, and we wish you the best of luck, Joanne and Jean. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good evening, everybody. Welcome aboard, Lynn and Bill.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Good
bye.
night, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
Very
Thank
smooth meeting, Margaret. Very
Sal,
good.
Sal,
Bye-bye.
can we go into, can we have a motion to go into executive session very briefly, just with the board? The applicant and the public can leave. There's just a legal matter I just want to discuss with the board very quickly.
Sure.
Sorry, we just still have some members of the public on. Margaret, can you stop recording? Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I guess we just need a motion to adjourn.
I'd move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
All right.
All
Take
right.
care, everyone.
Bye.
Nice
Bye,
meeting,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye-bye
Bye-bye.
now. Bye.